Imagine losing someone you love, someone who shaped your life in every possible way, and then facing the unimaginable, a fight over what they left behind. Picture a stepmother demanding a fortune that was never hers, questioning your rights, and testing your resolve at a time when your heart is already breaking. It's a situation that could crush anyone, leaving them feeling powerless, uncertain, and alone. But what if I told you that in the midst of betrayal, manipulation, and tension, there is a path not just to justice, but to empowerment, resilience, and the ultimate honoring of a parent's love and foresight? Today, I'm going to take you on a journey, a story of challenges that seem insurmountable, of careful planning, of clever strategies, and of a child discovering the true strength that comes from patience, courage, and standing up for what is right. You'll see how grief can be transformed into determination, fear into strategy, and injustice into victory. By the end of this story, you'll not only understand the power of protecting what matters most, but also feel inspired to face your own challenges with unwavering courage, knowing that preparation, persistence, and belief in fairness can truly change the outcome. So stay with me, because this isn't just a story about money or inheritance. It's a story about love, justice, and the strength that emerges when you refuse to let anyone undermine your rights or your future. The sudden passing of a beloved mother is a moment that shakes the foundation of one's world in ways that are almost impossible to articulate. It isn't just the loss of a parent. It's the abrupt disappearance of a source of comfort, guidance, and unconditional love. One day, the familiar presence of someone who has been a constant through childhood, adolescence, and even adulthood is there, and the next, they are gone, leaving behind an emptiness that feels both physical and emotional. The routines that once felt ordinary, hearing her laugh in the kitchen, sharing small talks about life, or seeking advice on even the most trivial matters, vanish instantly. The void she leaves is not something that can be measured in days or weeks. As grief often stretches into an endless echo of what used to be, sudden death often compounds the shock, as there is no gradual preparation, no final conversations to reconcile differences or express final words of love. The mind struggles to process the reality of her absence, cycling through disbelief, anger, confusion, and profound sadness. It is in these moments that the fragility of life becomes painfully clear, and the sense of security one felt under her presence is suddenly stripped away. Memories, both happy and painful, rush back with relentless intensity, each one a reminder of the bond that will never again be physically felt. The emotional impact is magnified when considering the unique role she played in shaping identity and providing emotional stability. She might have been the one who offered encouragement during moments of self-doubt, celebrated milestones, or silently endured hardships to shield her family. Her sudden absence leaves not only a personal void but a practical one as well. Decisions, responsibilities, and life guidance that were once shared now fall solely on those left behind. Grieving her loss is not only about mourning the person she was, but also confronting the reality of a future without her influence. Every familiar space in the home carries traces of her, and the mind instinctively seeks her presence in routines that once included her, only to be met with silence. Friends and family, while offering condolences, can never fully replicate the unique relationship she had with her child, leaving a persistent sense of incompleteness. Even the simple act of looking through photographs, reading old letters, or recalling her voice can stir waves of emotion, blending nostalgia with a sharp pang of absence, making it clear that life has irreversibly changed. Feeling vulnerable and unprotected after a parent's death is an experience that penetrates deeply into every aspect of life, shaking both emotional stability and one's sense of security. The death of a parent not only removes a loved one but also disrupts the invisible safety net that has often provided guidance, comfort, and reassurance throughout life. Without that familiar presence, everyday decisions suddenly feel heavier, and responsibilities that were once shared become solitary burdens. The realization that someone who always had your back is no longer there can leave a profound sense of exposure, as if the world has become sharper, colder, and more unpredictable. This vulnerability is not just emotional, it often extends into practical concerns. A parent's death can leave unanswered questions about finances, property, and legal matters, creating uncertainty about rights, entitlements, and what the future holds. The absence of someone who would normally advocate for or protect you leaves an unsettling gap, especially when others in the family or external influences step in with their own agendas. Every interaction can feel like a negotiation, and every decision carries the weight of potential mistakes, because the protective guidance that once offered reassurance is gone. Psychologically, this sense of being unprotected manifests as anxiety and hyper-awareness of threats, both real and imagined. The mind constantly evaluates risks, from financial exploitation to emotional manipulation, and even the simplest choices may be accompanied by second-guessing. Trust that one can navigate life alone, or that others will act in your best interest. This heightened sense of vulnerability can also amplify grief, as it intertwines with feelings of isolation and helplessness. Without a guiding figure, there is a temptation to internalize problems and carry the emotional burden silently, compounding stress and uncertainty. Often complicate these feelings further. In blended families or situations where step-parents and extended relatives are present, the child may feel that they have to defend their place, their rights, and their memories against those who might claim authority or entitlement. Every action taken to assert independence or protect what belongs to them can be met with tension, conflict, or resentment, which only intensifies the sense of exposure. At the same time, the absence of the parent who would naturally intervene can magnify every perceived slight or injustice, making the world feel like a less safe place. Even in environments where people are well-meaning, the feeling of being unprotected lingers because the emotional and legal guardianship once provided by the parent cannot be easily replaced. Every decision about money, inheritance, or personal well-being carries echoes of what might have been done differently if the parent were still alive, leaving the child to navigate a complex mix of grief, uncertainty, and self-reliance, while constantly feeling the weight of being left alone to protect themselves. Bring an inheritance of $400,000 after a parent's death can be a moment of shock, disbelief, and complex emotions, especially for someone still navigating the rawness of grief. It is not simply the realization of financial gain, it carries with it the weight of responsibility, memory, and sometimes conflict. At first, the number itself can feel abstract, almost surreal, as the mind struggles to reconcile the permanence of the parent's absence with the tangible legacy they have left behind. That inheritance is more than money. It is a symbol of the parent's life, their sacrifices, and the love they poured into their family, which can make the revelation emotionally overwhelming. The discovery can trigger a mixture of relief and anxiety. Relief comes from knowing that there is some measure of security left behind, a tangible safeguard for the future that can help with education, housing, or starting a life independently. Yet the anxiety surfaces quickly, because inheriting a large sum also introduces questions of fairness, legal ownership, and potential disputes. One may feel a sudden burden to protect what is rightfully theirs, knowing that others might challenge the inheritance or attempt to claim it unjustly. The mind begins to weigh possibilities, legal battles, family arguments, and the necessity of navigating a system that may not always feel aligned with personal justice. There is also the emotional complexity tied to guilt and morality. The inheritance is a reminder of the parent who has passed, making it impossible to separate financial gain from grief. Every dollar carries memories, decisions, and the implied trust of the parent who worked and saved with the intention of providing for their child. At times, this can feel like a sacred responsibility, where mismanaging the inheritance might be seen as dishonoring the parent's wishes. It is an inheritance that comes with invisible strings, binding the child not only to the financial resources, but to the legacy and values of the parent who has gone. Moreover, the discovery often awakens latent awareness of family dynamics and hidden tensions. Step-parents, distant relatives, or others who may feel entitled can emerge, creating pressure and emotional stress that complicates the grieving process. What was initially a personal moment of reflection and quiet appreciation can quickly become a negotiation of rights, loyalty, and protection. Every decision regarding the inheritance requires balancing legal prudence, emotional integrity, and a deep sense of personal justice. The $400,000 is not just money, it becomes a focal point around which grief, empowerment, vigilance, and family loyalty intersect, demanding maturity, careful thought, and an understanding of the parent's intentions while navigating the unpredictable human emotions that come with such a revelation. The immediate demand of a stepmother for a deceased parent's inheritance can be an emotionally jarring experience, compounding grief with feelings of betrayal and anger. In the wake of a parent's death, the last thing anyone expects is conflict over money or possessions. Yet such demands can surface quickly, revealing motivations that may have been hidden beneath a veneer of family harmony. The act of demanding what is rightfully yours can feel aggressive, almost predatory, and it forces the surviving child to confront not only legal realities, but the painful reality that someone who should have been supportive is instead prioritizing personal gain. This intrusion into a moment of mourning can intensify feelings of vulnerability and mistrust, making it difficult to process grief without the added weight of tension and confrontation. There is also an inherent emotional complexity in dealing with a step-parent who asserts entitlement to something that was intended to provide security and comfort. Their demand can feel like a direct challenge to the bond shared with the deceased parent, as if the love and trust invested over a lifetime can be overridden by legal or emotional pressure. This can provoke deep feelings of injustice, because the inheritance is often perceived not merely as financial wealth, but as an extension of the parent's care and protection. When someone else asserts a claim, it is easy to interpret it as an attack on the memory and intentions of the deceased, turning mourning into a battle for recognition, respect, and rightful ownership. The situation also introduces practical complications. The demand may come with veiled threats, insistence, or emotional manipulation designed to intimidate the heir into compliance. Even when the claim has no legal standing, the psychological impact can be significant, creating stress and uncertainty during a period that is already emotionally taxing. Decisions about whether to confront, negotiate, or involve legal counsel become urgent, and every choice carries the risk of conflict or estrangement. The stepmother's assertion can test the surviving child's patience, assertiveness, and understanding of legal rights, forcing them to balance emotional restraint with a firm defense of what is theirs. This confrontation is often more than a financial dispute, it is a clash of values and intentions. While the stepmother may view the demand as justified or pragmatic, the child sees it as an encroachment on what represents their parents' love and foresight. The emotional stakes elevate the legal dispute into a moral one, where defending the inheritance is also about preserving the parents' legacy and ensuring that their wishes are honored. The experience can be a harsh lesson in resilience, teaching the surviving child how to navigate complicated family dynamics while maintaining dignity, protecting their rights, and ultimately safeguarding the memory of the parent who can no longer speak for themselves. Step-parent entitlement versus legal rights is a complex and often emotionally charged issue that surfaces prominently when a parent passes away, leaving behind assets or an inheritance. The tension arises because emotional claims and perceived familial bonds do not always align with the legal framework governing inheritance. A step-parent may feel entitled to a portion of what the deceased parent accumulated, believing that their role in the family, whether as a caregiver, spouse, or authority figure, grants them a claim. This sense of entitlement is often rooted in years of shared life, co-parenting, or personal investment in the household, but it does not necessarily reflect the legal reality, which prioritizes the specific intentions of the deceased as expressed in a will or trust. The challenge lies in navigating the gap between perception and law. While a step-parent's feelings of ownership may seem emotionally justified to them, the law operates on concrete documentation and formal designation of beneficiaries. If the deceased parent explicitly left assets to their biological child, the step-parent's sense of entitlement has no legal standing, though it may still manifest in emotional pressure, negotiation attempts, or even coercion. This disconnect can create friction that intensifies grief, because the surviving child must not only mourn the loss of a parent, but also defend their legal rights against someone they may have considered family. The complexity is compounded when there is no clear or updated will, or when informal promises were made by the deceased parent, leaving room for interpretation and dispute. Understanding legal rights in the context of step-parent claims requires knowledge of probate law, wills, trusts, and jurisdictional differences. A step-parent may attempt to assert influence or claim based on common law marriage, perceived contributions, or other informal arguments, but unless the legal documents support their claim, these attempts are unlikely to succeed in court. For the child, this means navigating a delicate balance, asserting rights firmly enough to prevent encroachment while maintaining composure amid emotionally charged interactions. Legal guidance becomes crucial, as it ensures that the deceased parent's intentions are upheld and that any claims outside of those intentions are properly challenged. Emotionally, this situation can be draining because it frames inheritance not merely as money or property, but as a test of loyalty, respect, and recognition of a parent's final wishes. The child must reconcile the desire to maintain family harmony with the necessity of defending what is legally theirs. The experience often exposes the harsh reality that familial relationships do not always guarantee fairness or respect after death, highlighting the importance of clear legal planning and the protective role that law plays in ensuring that a parent's legacy is honored as intended. Emotional manipulation from a step-parent can emerge in subtle or overt ways, particularly during the period following a parent's death, when grief has left the surviving child emotionally raw and more vulnerable. It often begins quietly, with comments or suggestions that make the child question their own entitlement or worthiness of what the parent intended to leave them. A step-parent may frame their demands as reasonable, expressing concern for the family's well-being, or hinting that compliance is necessary to preserve harmony. This tactic preys on the child's sense of obligation or guilt, exploiting their emotional connection to both the deceased parent and the step-parent's position within the family. Even small, seemingly innocent statements can be laced with coercion, creating a sense that the child must acquiesce to avoid conflict or disappointment. The manipulation often escalates in timing and intensity, coinciding with moments when the child feels most vulnerable. For instance, it can appear immediately after funeral arrangements or during discussions about finances, when the child is still processing the loss and may not have the emotional bandwidth to assert themselves. The step-parent might employ emotional appeals, such as emphasizing their own sacrifices, presenting themselves as a grieving party, or portraying the child as ungrateful or selfish if they resist. This strategy leverages the child's compassion and desire to avoid confrontation, making it difficult to separate genuine concern from calculated pressure. Manipulation is particularly insidious because it targets the child's trust and perception of family loyalty. The surviving child may question their own instincts, wondering if they are being unfair, overly defensive, or unreasonable in protecting the inheritance that represents their parents' wishes. The step-parent may subtly undermine the child's confidence, insinuating that they are incapable of handling responsibilities alone, or that honoring the parent's intentions is secondary to maintaining peace within the household. Over time, these tactics can create self-doubt, confusion, and emotional exhaustion, as the child struggles to reconcile grief with the need to assert legal and moral rights. Legal and emotional strategies are often necessary to counteract this manipulation. Documentation of the parent's intentions, clear communication with legal representatives, and support from trusted advisors provide a buffer against undue influence. Recognizing manipulation for what it is, an attempt to leverage emotional bonds for material gain, is the first step in reclaiming agency. By understanding the patterns and tactics, the child can maintain focus on the parent's wishes while resisting pressure, navigating the fraught period with both emotional resilience and practical assertiveness, ensuring that the inheritance is preserved as a reflection of the parent's care rather than the step-parent's ambition. Memories of a mother and her last wishes often become a source of both comfort and strength in the aftermath of her passing, shaping the way a child approaches the challenges that arise, including disputes over inheritance. These memories are rarely limited to casual recollections. They carry the essence of her personality, her values, and the lessons she imparted over a lifetime. Each story, every word of advice, and even small gestures from the past take on heightened significance when the mother is no longer present. They serve as reminders of the care and thoughtfulness she invested in her family, guiding decisions and reinforcing a sense of moral clarity when faced with difficult circumstances. The child draws upon these memories to navigate the emotional complexity of grief, while simultaneously attempting to honor her wishes. A mother's last wishes often extend beyond material instructions, encompassing the broader desire for her child's well-being, independence, and security. These wishes, whether explicitly stated in a will or communicated verbally over time, act as a moral compass during moments of uncertainty. Remembering her principles, her advice, and her protective instincts allows the child to approach conflicts, particularly those involving family members with competing interests, with a sense of purpose. The inheritance, therefore, becomes more than a sum of money. It is a tangible representation of her love, her foresight, and her commitment to ensuring her child is cared for, even in her absence. Each decision regarding the inheritance is filtered through the lens of what she would have wanted, transforming legal and financial choices into acts of loyalty and remembrance. These memories can also serve as emotional armor in situations where others attempt to challenge the child's rights. When faced with pressure, intimidation, or manipulation, recalling her words and guidance provides reassurance and clarity. It reinforces the child's confidence in making choices that align with her intentions, reminding them that the parent's trust and love are constants even when external circumstances feel uncertain. The process of reflecting on her wishes deepens the child's understanding of their relationship, emphasizing the mother's role not only as a caregiver, but also as a strategist who prepared for contingencies, anticipated challenges, and left safeguards to protect her legacy. In addition, these memories often motivate resilience and assertiveness. The child may remember lessons about fairness, self-respect, and the importance of standing up for oneself, applying them in ways that preserve the mother's legacy and maintain personal integrity. Every recollection reinforces a sense of responsibility to honor her life and decisions, making it possible to navigate the emotional and practical challenges of inheritance disputes with a blend of reverence, intelligence, and emotional strength that ultimately reflects the enduring influence of the mother's love and foresight. The mother's foresight in hiring a protective lawyer demonstrates a level of planning and care that extends far beyond the ordinary responsibilities of parenthood, reflecting her desire to ensure her child's security even after she is gone. This action is not merely about money or legal formality, it embodies her understanding of human nature, family dynamics, and the potential for conflict in situations involving inheritance. By securing professional guidance, she anticipated challenges that could arise, recognizing that emotions often cloud judgment, and that those who feel entitled might attempt to claim what is not theirs. This foresight shows an acute awareness that love and protection do not end with death, and that practical measures are sometimes necessary to safeguard both the child's future and the integrity of her wishes. A protective lawyer serves as more than a legal advocate. They become a guardian of the parent's intentions, translating the abstract love and concern embedded in a will into actionable measures that prevent exploitation or unfair claims. The mother's decision to involve legal expertise ensures that her child is not left vulnerable to manipulation, intimidation, or familial disputes that could otherwise compromise the inheritance. In hiring such a professional, she also provides a buffer between her child and potential stressors, allowing the child to grieve without immediately facing the full weight of complex legal negotiations. It is a strategic move that reflects both trust and foresight, demonstrating that she understands the value of proactive measures in securing justice and fairness. This foresight also carries an emotional significance. Knowing that the mother took deliberate steps to protect her child reinforces a sense of security and confidence even in her absence. It validates the child's sense of being loved, cared for, and valued, providing a psychological anchor amid the turbulence of grief. Each interaction with the lawyer serves as a reminder of the mother's presence and guidance, translating her foresight into tangible protection that is both practical and deeply reassuring. The child can rely on this structure to navigate disputes, challenge unreasonable demands, and uphold the parent's intentions without succumbing to fear or uncertainty. Additionally, the mother's foresight highlights her understanding of the long-term implications of her actions. She recognized that inheritance is not merely financial, but also symbolic, representing her care, planning, and trust. By hiring a protective lawyer, she ensures that her child's relationship with the inheritance reflects her wishes rather than being distorted by external pressures. This decision demonstrates an extraordinary level of thoughtfulness and preparation, showing that her influence continues to guide and protect, reinforcing the enduring impact of her love and strategic planning even after she has passed. Hidden clauses in a will that favor the child are often the result of careful planning by a parent who anticipates potential disputes and wants to ensure that their intentions are fully honored. These clauses are not always immediately apparent, and they often serve as a form of protection against claims from others who may feel entitled to the inheritance. They can be subtle, strategically worded provisions that activate only under certain conditions, or they can explicitly designate assets to the child while excluding others. Such clauses reflect a parent's understanding of family dynamics and human behavior, acknowledging that without precise instructions, ambiguity can lead to conflict and legal challenges that might compromise what was meant to be a secure legacy for the child. These hidden clauses act as a safeguard, ensuring that the child's inheritance cannot be easily contested or redirected. They are often included to prevent undue influence from step-parents, relatives, or others who might attempt to manipulate circumstances in their favor. By structuring the will with careful foresight, the parent establishes a legal framework that aligns with their moral and emotional intentions, reinforcing that the child's rights to the inheritance are protected regardless of external pressures. In many ways, these clauses serve as a silent advocate for the child, providing both legal authority and moral validation that their claim is legitimate and consistent with the parent's wishes. Beyond the legal implications, hidden clauses carry emotional weight. For the child, discovering these clauses can be a moment of relief and empowerment, offering reassurance that their parent anticipated potential challenges and took steps to shield them from injustice. It is a reminder of the parent's care and strategic thinking, reinforcing the idea that love is not only expressed through daily interactions but also through deliberate planning to protect the child's future. These provisions often act as a source of psychological strength, giving the child confidence to face disputes or manipulation without fear, knowing that the parent's intentions are firmly embedded in legal documentation. Additionally, hidden clauses can create a narrative of foresight and justice that extends beyond mere financial security. They exemplify the parent's ability to anticipate human behavior, ensuring that their values and priorities are respected even after death. This careful attention to detail demonstrates that inheritance is not solely about money, but also about preserving relationships, honoring trust, and safeguarding the child from potential harm. By embedding such clauses, the parent crafts a legacy that combines love, protection, and strategy, creating a framework in which the child can inherit not just assets, but also a sense of fairness, validation, and enduring connection to the parent's guidance and care. The lawyer, as a secret guardian of the mother's wishes, plays a pivotal role in ensuring that the intentions of the deceased are honored while protecting the child from undue influence or exploitation. This lawyer is more than a legal professional, they are a carefully chosen ally who understands both the legal system and the emotional complexities involved in inheritance disputes. By acting as a silent advocate, the lawyer safeguards the child's rights, navigates potential challenges, and ensures that the parent's carefully planned provisions are executed without interference. Their presence represents foresight and strategic planning, transforming abstract intentions into enforceable protections that prevent others from undermining what was meant for the child. The secretive aspect of the lawyer's role adds another layer of protection. In many cases, potential claimants or manipulative relatives are unaware of the legal measures in place, which allows the lawyer to act decisively if conflicts arise. This element of surprise can deter disputes before they escalate, as any attempts to challenge the inheritance would encounter a prepared and knowledgeable advocate. The lawyer, in essence, becomes a bridge between the parent's foresight and the child's security, translating the parent's foresight into actionable steps that reinforce the child's confidence and minimize emotional stress during a period of grief. This guardian role is also emotionally reassuring for the child. Knowing that there is someone acting on behalf of the deceased parent provides a sense of stability in a moment that might otherwise feel overwhelming and uncertain. The child can trust that their inheritance is protected without needing to navigate the full complexity of legal proceedings alone, allowing them to focus on mourning, reflection, and emotional recovery. The lawyer embodies the parent's enduring presence and care, turning legal structures into a form of continuing guidance and protection. Moreover, the lawyer's intervention emphasizes the importance of foresight and preparedness in estate planning. By establishing a legal advocate who can act immediately if needed, the parent ensures that the child is never left vulnerable to manipulation, intimidation, or misunderstanding. The lawyer can enforce hidden clauses, clarify ambiguities in the will, and respond to attempts at coercion, all while maintaining the confidentiality and dignity of the family. In doing so, they preserve not only the financial integrity of the inheritance but also the emotional and moral significance it holds, reinforcing the parent's intentions and providing the child with both tangible and psychological protection during a profoundly challenging time. When a step-parent underestimates the legal system, it often becomes a critical turning point in inheritance disputes, revealing the gap between assumption and reality. Many step-parents may operate under the belief that familial closeness, emotional influence, or perceived contributions to the household automatically grant them rights to the deceased parent's assets. They might assume that asserting authority or pressuring the child will be enough to secure a portion of the inheritance. This underestimation can stem from overconfidence, lack of knowledge about estate law, or a failure to appreciate the legal mechanisms in place to protect the child. Their miscalculation often exposes them to consequences they had not anticipated, transforming a sense of entitlement into frustration or even legal defeat. The legal system is structured to uphold the intentions expressed in a will, trust, or other formal estate planning documents, and emotional arguments alone rarely hold sway. Step-parent misjudges this structure. They often fail to anticipate the safeguards, documentation, and professional advocacy that have been put in place. They may not realize that a protective lawyer or clearly articulated clauses in the will can neutralize attempts to claim an inheritance unjustly. Their assumptions about influence, negotiation, or intimidation can be rendered ineffective once legal procedures are invoked, highlighting the importance of understanding both rights and boundaries within the framework of the law. This underestimation can also lead to missteps in behavior, such as making overt demands, applying emotional pressure, or attempting informal coercion. These actions, rather than increasing their leverage, often work against them, as the legal system and advocates for the child are able to respond with documented evidence of the parent's intentions. The child's legal protection, combined with the parent's foresight, turns the step-parent's overconfidence into a liability, exposing their misunderstanding of legal procedures and their inability to successfully navigate the system. Emotionally, this scenario can be both empowering and vindicating for the child. Observing the step-parent's misjudgment reinforces the value of the parent's foresight and the role of legal advocacy in preserving fairness. It demonstrates that love and planning extend beyond the parent's life, providing tangible safeguards against attempts to override their wishes. The step-parent's underestimation serves as a cautionary example of the limits of personal influence and entitlement when confronted with the structure, expertise, and enforceability of the law, underscoring the importance of preparation, clarity, and professional guidance in protecting a child's inheritance and honoring the deceased parent's legacy. The child feeling powerless but secretly hopeful is a complex emotional state that often arises in the aftermath of a parent's death, particularly when disputes over inheritance or family dynamics emerge. The sense of powerlessness comes from the sudden loss of a guiding figure, leaving the child to navigate not only grief but also decisions that carry long-term consequences. They may feel unprepared to confront legal challenges, assert their rights, or resist pressure from others who believe they have claims to the inheritance. Every interaction can feel intimidating, whether it involves relatives asserting entitlement, a step-parent attempting to influence outcomes, or the broader uncertainty of how the legal system will uphold the deceased parent's wishes. This vulnerability can create anxiety, self-doubt, and a persistent feeling of being at the mercy of forces beyond their control. Despite this sense of powerlessness, there is often an undercurrent of hope that sustains the child. That hope is rooted in the belief that the parent's foresight, careful planning, and protective measures will ultimately work in their favor. Memories of the parent's guidance, the thoughtfulness embedded in a will, or the involvement of a trusted lawyer can instill confidence that they are not entirely alone in defending what is rightfully theirs. Even if the child cannot yet see the full path to resolution, the awareness that the parent anticipated challenges and took steps to protect them provides a quiet but powerful reassurance. This hope allows the child to endure difficult conversations, manipulation attempts, or moments of doubt without surrendering to fear or despair. The combination of feeling powerless, yet secretly hopeful, creates a delicate tension between vulnerability and resilience. The child may struggle with emotions ranging from frustration and grief to determination and cautious optimism. This duality can sharpen their awareness of family dynamics, legal rights, and the importance of strategic patience. Each small victory, whether gaining clarity about legal protections or simply feeling supported by the parent's arrangements, reinforces the hope that justice and fairness will prevail. Ultimately, this emotional state is a testament to the child's capacity to balance grief with pragmatism. The feeling of powerlessness acknowledges the challenges and risks inherent in navigating inheritance disputes, while the hidden hope reflects trust in the parent's wisdom, planning, and foresight. Together, they create a mindset that prepares the child to face obstacles with resilience, patience, and an unwavering focus on honoring the parent's intentions, allowing them to transform uncertainty and vulnerability into eventual empowerment and vindication. Subtle threats or intimidation tactics from a step-parent can profoundly affect a child during the already vulnerable period following a parent's death. These tactics often do not appear as overt aggression, but are carefully calculated to create anxiety, doubt, and hesitation. They can take the form of casual remarks that imply consequences, insinuations about what the child should do, or questions that cast suspicion on the child's intentions or abilities. The goal is rarely direct confrontation. Instead, it is to undermine confidence and make the child feel that compliance is the easier or safer option. Even when the child knows the inheritance is legally theirs, the psychological weight of these subtle threats can create uncertainty, forcing them to second-guess their decisions and question whether they have the strength or support to defend what is rightfully theirs. These intimidation tactics exploit both grief and isolation. Following a parent's death, a child is already emotionally vulnerable and may lack the full capacity to confront challenging personalities or legal complexities. A step-parent may use moments of silence, lingering questions, or insinuations to suggest that the child is alone, unsupported, or incapable of managing the inheritance. These tactics often play on guilt, implying that resistance could harm family relationships or disrespect the memory of the deceased parent, further complicating the child's ability to respond rationally. Over time, the constant presence of subtle pressure can generate stress, anxiety, and even self-doubt, making what should be a clear legal right feel fraught with emotional risk. The psychological impact of such threats extends beyond the immediate situation. They can alter how the child interacts with other family members, creating mistrust or hypervigilance. Every conversation or interaction may be colored by suspicion or caution, and the child may feel compelled to constantly defend themselves, their intentions, and their understanding of the parent's wishes. Even when legal protections are in place, the emotional toll of navigating these covert pressures can be significant, emphasizing that inheritance disputes are not only about finances but also about psychological resilience. However, these subtle threats also reveal the child's need for support, clarity, and validation. Awareness of manipulation allows the child to lean on legal safeguards, the parent's foresight, and trusted advisors to counterbalance intimidation. Recognizing the tactics for what they are, a blend of greed and coercion, helps the child maintain focus on the parent's intentions, rather than the step-parents' attempts to instill fear. This dynamic transforms what could be a debilitating source of pressure into a test of patience, strategy, and emotional strength, demonstrating that even subtle threats can be anticipated and mitigated when the child understands both their rights and the deliberate planning their parent left behind. The suspense of waiting for legal proceedings can be an emotionally intense experience, particularly for a child navigating the death of a parent and disputes over inheritance. The period between the filing of legal documents and the final resolution of claims often stretches indefinitely, creating a sense of limbo where the child is caught between grief and uncertainty. Each day can feel heavy with anticipation, as the outcome is unknown and dependent on complex legal processes, the interpretation of documents, and the actions of others who may have competing interests. This waiting period amplifies emotional vulnerability, as the child must confront not only the loss of a parent but also the pressure of defending what is rightfully theirs, while remaining patient in the face of procedural delays. During this suspenseful period, every interaction, communication, or hint from involved parties can carry disproportionate weight. A single phone call, letter, or meeting can trigger waves of hope, fear, or doubt, magnifying the emotional rollercoaster that accompanies legal uncertainty. The child may find themselves repeatedly analyzing each word and action, trying to predict outcomes, or preparing for potential setbacks. This hyper-awareness is exhausting but also necessary, as legal proceedings can hinge on minute details, deadlines, or interpretations of intent. The suspense forces the child to maintain vigilance while simultaneously managing grief, creating a complex interplay of mental strain, patience, and strategic thinking. The waiting period also underscores the importance of trust in legal advocates and the parent's foresight. Knowing that the deceased parent took steps to protect their child through careful estate planning and legal representation allows the child to find reassurance amid uncertainty. The lawyer, familiar with the intricacies of the case and the intentions of the parent, provides a stabilizing presence, guiding the child through procedural steps and ensuring that every legal requirement is met. This support mitigates the paralyzing effects of suspense, transforming a period of anxiety into one of strategic preparation, reflection, and understanding. Emotionally, the suspense teaches resilience and patience. It highlights the reality that justice and fairness are not always immediate, and that outcomes often require endurance, diligence, and trust in the structures established to protect rights. The child learns to balance hope and caution, to navigate emotional turbulence while remaining focused on the parent's intentions, and to prepare for both victory and challenge. Through this process, the suspense of legal proceedings becomes more than just waiting. It is an opportunity to develop emotional strength, strategic thinking, and a deepened appreciation for the protective measures the parent put in place, all while holding on to the assurance that the inheritance will ultimately reflect the parent's wishes. Clever legal strategies used to safeguard the inheritance are often the result of careful planning by the parent and the foresight of the lawyer, designed to ensure that the child receives what was intended without interference from others who might claim entitlement. These strategies can take many forms, including trusts, conditional clauses, or staggered distributions that activate only when certain criteria are met, preventing impulsive or unjust claims. They reflect a deep understanding of potential disputes and human behavior, anticipating tactics like coercion, intimidation, or manipulation from step-parents or other family members. The goal is not just to secure assets, but to create a legal structure that aligns with the parent's intentions while offering clear, enforceable protection for the child. One common strategy involves creating specific conditions for inheritance that must be met before funds or property are released. These conditions can protect the assets from being claimed prematurely or misused, ensuring that the child benefits in a way consistent with the parent's values. Legal instruments like trusts can place the child's inheritance under the oversight of a professional or a neutral party, providing an additional layer of protection against disputes. In addition, hidden or carefully worded clauses may stipulate that any attempts to challenge the will or manipulate the child could result in forfeiture or other legal consequences, discouraging opportunistic claims and ensuring that only rightful beneficiaries gain access. Clever strategies also involve timing and confidentiality. By keeping certain aspects of the estate plan confidential, or only revealing them at strategic points, the parent ensures that potential claimants cannot preemptively act to disrupt the intended distribution. This element of surprise can be particularly effective in family dynamics, where emotional manipulation or intimidation might otherwise influence outcomes. The lawyer acts as both executor and enforcer, translating the parent's foresight into actionable steps that protect the inheritance while minimizing conflict and stress for the child. Beyond legal mechanics, these strategies provide emotional reassurance. Knowing that the parent anticipated potential disputes and designed protections instills confidence and a sense of security in the child. It transforms what might feel like a vulnerable or powerless situation into one where the child can trust that fairness and justice will prevail. The clever design of these legal measures ensures that the inheritance remains a symbol of the parent's care, wisdom, and protection, rather than a source of contention. By combining foresight, legal expertise, and strategic planning, the parent leaves a legacy that is not only financial but also protective, reinforcing the child's rights and safeguarding their emotional well-being during a period that is otherwise fraught with grief and uncertainty. Or documents revealing the mother's intent serve as a crucial bridge between her life and the child's ability to claim and protect what was meant for them, providing clarity and guidance during a period of uncertainty and grief. These written communications often contain explicit instructions, explanations, or personal reflections that outline the mother's wishes regarding inheritance, property, or responsibilities. Unlike verbal statements, which can be misremembered, misinterpreted, or disputed, written documents carry a tangible authority, offering proof of intent that can be referenced in legal proceedings or personal decision-making. They are a manifestation of the mother's foresight, demonstrating that she anticipated challenges and sought to leave behind clear guidance to protect her child and ensure her final wishes were honored. Such documents often extend beyond simple legal language, incorporating personal notes, letters, or explanations that communicate the mother's reasoning, values, and priorities. They can provide insight into why specific provisions were made, reinforcing the understanding that the inheritance is more than a financial resource. It represents love, care, and protection. By articulating her intent in writing, the mother creates a roadmap for the child, showing not only what is to be inherited but also why it is significant and how it should be respected. This clarity is particularly important in situations where other family members, such as a step-parent, may attempt to assert influence or challenge the inheritance. The documents serve as evidence that is difficult to refute and establish a moral as well as legal foundation for the child's claim. These letters or documents also carry emotional weight, providing comfort and reassurance during a time when grief can feel overwhelming. Reading the mother's words can evoke memories, guidance, and a sense of presence, reminding the child that the mother's influence extends beyond death. The messages can instill confidence, resolve, and validation, allowing the child to navigate disputes or uncertainty with a stronger sense of purpose and clarity. They transform the inheritance from a purely material matter into a continuation of the mother's care and foresight, reinforcing the bond between parent and child even after her passing. Moreover, these documents can act as strategic tools in legal proceedings. By explicitly outlining the mother's intentions, they reduce ambiguity and limit opportunities for manipulation or misinterpretation by others who might claim entitlement. They complement the lawyer's advocacy, providing a clear reference point to enforce the parent's wishes. Ultimately, letters or documents revealing the mother's intent function as both a shield and a guide, ensuring that the child can honor her legacy while navigating the complexities of inheritance, family dynamics, and emotional vulnerability with confidence and clarity. The emotional satisfaction of seeing justice served is a powerful experience that resonates deeply when a child witnesses the fulfillment of a parent's carefully laid plans, particularly after a period of uncertainty and potential conflict. Following the death of a parent, emotions are raw, and the prospect of disputes over inheritance can feel overwhelming, especially when others attempt to claim what is not rightfully theirs. The parent's intentions honored through legal channels, protective measures, or the enforcement of clauses in a will, provides a profound sense of validation, confirming that the love, foresight, and guidance left behind were not only meaningful, but also effective. This satisfaction is not merely about material gain, it is about witnessing fairness, integrity, and the triumph of careful planning over greed or manipulation. Justice in this context carries both moral and emotional weight. When the child sees that the inheritance is preserved exactly as the parent intended, it affirms that their parent anticipated challenges and took deliberate steps to protect them. It validates the parent's foresight, their understanding of human behavior, and their determination to shield the child from harm even in death. This reinforces a sense of connection to the parent, reminding the child that the guidance and love provided throughout life continue to influence outcomes and provide protection. The legal system, along with the strategic measures put in place, becomes a conduit for this emotional resolution, turning what could have been a source of stress or conflict into an affirmation of justice and care. The satisfaction of justice served also reinforces personal empowerment. Throughout the process of inheritance disputes, the child may have felt vulnerable, anxious, or uncertain about their ability to assert their rights. Witnessing the parent's wishes upheld transforms those feelings into confidence, resilience, and a sense of moral victory. It demonstrates that patience, adherence to legal processes, and reliance on the safeguards put in place were worthwhile, and it affirms the value of honoring both legal and ethical principles in the face of pressure or manipulation. Additionally, this emotional satisfaction provides closure and a sense of peace. It allows the child to grieve without lingering doubts or regrets about whether the parent's legacy will be respected. Every successful enforcement of the parent's wishes reinforces the idea that justice is achievable, even in emotionally charged circumstances, and that love, foresight, and planning can transcend death. The experience becomes a testament to the enduring influence of the parent's wisdom and care, leaving the child with both material security and the profound reassurance that their parents' intentions were honored exactly as they wished. Step-parents facing consequences for greed is a theme that often emerges in inheritance disputes, particularly when attempts to claim what is not rightfully theirs are met with legal, moral, or social accountability. Greed in this context is more than a desire for material gain, it represents a willingness to exploit familial relationships, emotional vulnerability, and the absence of a parent to advance personal interests. When a step-parent underestimates the legal protections in place, or disregards the explicit wishes of the deceased, their actions set the stage for repercussions that are both practical and symbolic. The consequences serve as a reminder that entitlement alone does not override legality or ethical obligations, and that attempts to manipulate or intimidate others in pursuit of wealth often backfire. The consequences for greed can take many forms. Legally, the step-parent may find that their claims are dismissed due to clear documentation, protective clauses in the will, or the advocacy of a skilled lawyer. Their lack of foresight or disregard for established protocols exposes them to defeat in court, creating a tangible loss and a public acknowledgement that their actions were unwarranted. Beyond the courtroom, there may be social consequences within the family or broader community. Greed that is apparent to others can damage reputations, erode trust, and isolate the individual from meaningful relationships. Attempts to take advantage of the child or manipulate the inheritance may lead to shame, criticism, or long-term estrangement, reinforcing the emotional cost of prioritizing material gain over fairness and integrity. The child witnessing these consequences often experiences a complex mix of relief, vindication, and moral validation. Observing that the step-parent's actions do not succeed reinforces the effectiveness of the parent's planning and the protections established through legal and emotional foresight. It also provides a sense of justice that transcends financial matters, affirming that ethical boundaries are recognized and upheld. For the child, this moment can be empowering, highlighting the importance of perseverance, adherence to principles, and reliance on structures designed to safeguard rights in challenging circumstances. Consequences for greed also reinforce broader lessons about human behavior and accountability. They demonstrate that actions motivated by selfishness or disregard for others' rights often carry inherent risks, both legally and socially. In the context of inheritance, The step-parent's failure to navigate the situation ethically ultimately strengthens the child's position, validates the deceased parent's protective measures, and provides a clear illustration that foresight, integrity, and planning prevail over manipulation and selfish ambition, creating a sense of closure, justice, and reassurance that the parent's intentions were honored. The validation of the child's rights after conflict is a deeply significant moment in inheritance disputes, particularly when a step-parent or other family members have attempted to challenge what was legally and morally intended for them. This validation is not merely a recognition of ownership, it is an affirmation of the parent's foresight, the child's entitlement, and the integrity of the legal and emotional frameworks that were put in place to protect them. After a period of uncertainty, manipulation, or intimidation, seeing one's rights acknowledged and enforced provides a profound sense of justice and reassurance. It signals that the principles of fairness, planning, and protection embedded by the deceased parent are respected and upheld, giving the child both emotional and practical closure. Validation of rights carries multiple layers of impact. On a practical level, it ensures that the inheritance is secured and cannot be undermined by conflicting claims or attempts to sway the child through pressure or coercion. Legal documentation, the enforcement of wills, and the advocacy of a protective lawyer all converge to confirm that the child's claim is legitimate and defensible. This practical recognition eliminates uncertainty, allowing the child to move forward with a clear understanding of what belongs to them, free from ongoing disputes or the anxiety that accompanies ambiguous or contested claims. The resolution reinforces confidence in the legal process and in the measures the parent put in place to safeguard their child's future. Emotionally, the validation is equally impactful. After enduring grief and the emotional turbulence of potential conflict, it offers a sense of empowerment and vindication. The child's rights being upheld validates their role as the rightful beneficiary of the parent's care and foresight. It reassures them that their parents' intentions were deliberate, meaningful, and respected, transforming feelings of vulnerability into confidence and emotional stability. This recognition also strengthens the child's trust in the frameworks established by the parent, emphasizing that the inheritance is not merely a financial matter but also an extension of love, protection, and moral responsibility. Moreover, the validation of rights serves as a lesson in resilience and justice. It underscores the importance of perseverance, awareness, and strategic action in protecting what is rightfully theirs. It demonstrates that even when faced with manipulation, intimidation, or conflict, adherence to principles and reliance on established safeguards can yield outcomes that honor both legal entitlements and familial intentions. For the child, this moment is both affirming and transformative, allowing them to embrace their inheritance with a sense of security, pride, and a deeper understanding of the enduring power of the parent's foresight and care. The emotional triumph of protecting the mother's legacy represents one of the most profound experiences a child can have after losing a parent, particularly when faced with challenges from a step-parent or other family members who may attempt to interfere. This triumph goes beyond the mere acquisition of financial assets. It embodies the successful preservation of the parent's intentions, values, and care. Protecting the legacy affirms that the love, foresight, and planning invested by the mother are respected and honored, ensuring that her influence continues to guide and safeguard her child even after her death. The emotional weight of this victory is intensified by the obstacles overcome, highlighting both the child's resilience and the effectiveness of the parent's protective measures. Achieving this triumph often involves navigating a complex interplay of legal, emotional, and interpersonal challenges. The child may face manipulation, intimidation, or subtle pressure from those who feel entitled to the inheritance, which can create a tense and emotionally taxing environment. Successfully upholding the mother's wishes in the face of such adversity requires patience, strategic thinking, and often the guidance of a skilled lawyer who understands the intricacies of estate law. The combination of preparation, legal advocacy, and personal perseverance transforms what might otherwise be a stressful confrontation into a moment of empowerment and affirmation. It proves that careful planning, foresight, and adherence to principles can overcome attempts to undermine justice or fairness. Emotionally, protecting the legacy also provides closure and a deep sense of connection to the mother. Each legal victory, upheld clause, or affirmation of rights serves as a tangible reminder that the parent's care and guidance continue to shape the child's life. This process reinforces trust in the parent's judgment and foresight, transforming grief and vulnerability into confidence, strength, and emotional resilience. The child experiences a sense of moral and ethical vindication, recognizing that honoring the mother's intentions is not only a matter of legal correctness, but also of loyalty, respect, and familial duty. Moreover, the triumph reinforces the significance of the parent's legacy beyond material wealth. It demonstrates that the inheritance symbolizes more than financial security. It is a continuation of the parent's protective presence, moral guidance, and strategic planning. Successfully defending it affirms the child's agency, validates the parent's foresight, and transforms a period of potential conflict into a lasting testament to the enduring impact of the mother's love, care, and wisdom. The emotional triumph, therefore, is a multidimensional experience, combining legal victory, moral affirmation, and personal empowerment in a way that honors the mother's life and intentions. The empowerment the child feels after asserting their rights is a transformative experience that goes far beyond the resolution of a legal dispute or the receipt of an inheritance. Following the death of a parent, especially when a step-parent or other family members challenge what is rightfully theirs, a child can initially feel vulnerable, uncertain, and overwhelmed by both grief and the complexities of protecting their parents' wishes. Successfully asserting rights, however, shifts this dynamic dramatically, instilling a profound sense of agency, confidence, and self-assurance. It is the realization that, despite emotional turbulence and external pressure, they are capable of defending what is legally and morally theirs, honoring their parents' legacy, and navigating difficult circumstances with clarity and purpose. This empowerment stems from both the validation of the parent's foresight and the child's ability to act decisively. The protective measures the parent put in place, whether through a carefully drafted will, hidden clauses, or a trusted lawyer, provide a foundation that allows the child to step forward with authority and conviction. Each successful assertion reinforces the child's understanding that their voice matters, that their choices carry weight, and that they can effectively safeguard their inheritance against manipulation, coercion, or undue influence. The process requires not only awareness of legal rights but also emotional resilience, patience, and strategic thinking, which collectively contribute to a deepened sense of personal competence. Emotionally, asserting rights transforms vulnerability into strength. The child moves from a position of fear or uncertainty, often created by subtle threats or manipulation, into one of confidence and moral clarity. The act of standing firm in alignment with the parent's intentions reinforces the bond with the deceased parent, creating a sense of continuity and responsibility. It validates the care, foresight, and love that the parent invested in protecting them, while simultaneously demonstrating the child's ability to honor those efforts through action. This dual reinforcement of both the parent's guidance and the child's capability serves as a source of enduring emotional empowerment. Furthermore, this experience extends beyond the immediate context of inheritance. The skills, confidence, and resilience developed through asserting rights in the face of challenge provide a foundation for future decision-making, problem-solving, and boundary setting. The child learns the value of strategic thinking, the importance of upholding principles, and the necessity of balancing emotional intelligence with assertiveness. Ultimately, asserting their rights is not just about securing assets, it becomes a transformative milestone, marking the child's evolution into a self-assured individual capable of protecting both their interests and the legacy entrusted to them, while navigating complex human dynamics with confidence and integrity. The lasting impact on family dynamics after the inheritance dispute often extends far beyond the immediate resolution of legal or financial matters, shaping relationships, trust, and perceptions within the family for years to come. When a step-parent or other relatives attempt to claim what is not rightfully theirs, tensions can rise, creating fractures that may persist even after the legal outcome favors the child. Family gatherings, communication, and shared responsibilities can be colored by previous conflicts, leading to awkwardness, resentment, or a cautious distance between parties. Even when the child successfully asserts their rights, the emotional landscape of the family is altered, as past disputes leave subtle but enduring impressions that affect interactions and perceptions of loyalty, fairness, and trust. The inheritance dispute can reveal underlying tensions and unspoken rivalries that may have existed for years, bringing them into sharp focus in a way that cannot easily be reversed. Step-parents who felt entitled or overlooked may harbor lingering resentment, while other family members may struggle to reconcile their loyalties with the legal and moral outcomes of the case. These dynamics can create ongoing challenges in communication, cooperation, and emotional connection, as past actions and perceived injustices influence the ways in which family members relate to one another. Even when the immediate legal matter is resolved, the emotional aftermath often requires careful navigation, diplomacy, and patience to prevent minor disputes from escalating or perpetuating division. On the other hand, the resolution of the inheritance dispute can also reinforce boundaries and clarity within the family. By establishing what is legally and morally owed to the child, the process sets a precedent for accountability, fairness, and respect for the parent's intentions. The child's ability to assert rights and have them recognized can serve as a benchmark for future interactions, signaling that manipulation, entitlement, or coercion will not be tolerated. This clarity, while potentially uncomfortable for some family members, ultimately fosters a more transparent environment in which expectations, responsibilities, and boundaries are clearly understood. Emotionally, the child may experience a mix of relief, empowerment, and caution. While the dispute may strengthen their sense of self and reinforce the parent's foresight, it can also create lingering wariness toward those who challenged their rights. The long-term impact on family dynamics is thus a balance between trust and vigilance, reconciliation and guardedness, as relationships adjust to the new realities established by the inheritance resolution. These experiences shape how family members interact, how respect and authority are perceived, and how future conflicts may be managed, leaving a lasting imprint on the emotional and social fabric of the family. The importance of documenting every interaction during an inheritance dispute cannot be overstated, as it provides a critical safeguard for the child and ensures that all events are recorded accurately for both legal and emotional clarity. In the context of conflicts with a step-parent or other family members over what was left by the deceased parent, conversations, agreements, threats, and negotiations can become contentious and easily misrepresented. By meticulously documenting every interaction, whether through written correspondence, emails, text messages, or detailed personal notes, the child creates a verifiable record that can support their legal position, clarify intentions, and protect against false claims or manipulative tactics. This documentation acts as both evidence and a tool for maintaining composure, allowing the child to approach disputes with confidence, rather than relying solely on memory or verbal recounting. Documentation also serves to reinforce the child's credibility in legal proceedings. Courts and lawyers rely heavily on accurate records to assess the validity of claims and to determine the intent of parties involved. By keeping thorough records, the child ensures that any attempts by a step-parent or other relatives to misrepresent events, exert undue influence, or create ambiguity are countered with factual evidence. This creates a protective barrier, making it far more difficult for opportunistic individuals to challenge the inheritance or manipulate outcomes. Beyond formal legal use, documentation also provides a personal reference for the child, helping them track developments, understand patterns of behavior, and prepare for potential confrontations in a thoughtful and strategic manner. Emotionally, documenting interactions can also empower the child. It transforms a situation that might otherwise feel chaotic or overwhelming into one where they have some control and agency. Writing down events, conversations, or threats provides clarity, reduces anxiety, and allows the child to respond rather than react impulsively. It also creates a tangible record of the parent's foresight, the child's adherence to instructions, and the step-parent's actions, reinforcing a sense of validation and preparedness. This structured approach ensures that decisions are grounded in facts rather than emotion, protecting both the child's rights and their peace of mind. In addition, meticulous documentation can serve as a deterrent. Knowing that the child is keeping careful records can discourage manipulative behavior or attempts to intimidate, as potential aggressors recognize that their actions are being monitored and can be formally addressed if necessary. Overall, documenting every interaction provides legal protection, emotional clarity, and strategic leverage, forming a critical component of navigating inheritance disputes while preserving the integrity of the parent's intentions and safeguarding the child's well-being. The careful monitoring of the stepmother's actions is a crucial aspect of protecting a child's inheritance, especially in situations where there is a history of greed, manipulation, or attempts to influence outcomes unfairly. By paying close attention to her behavior, communications, and decisions, the child can anticipate potential challenges, detect signs of interference, and respond strategically before any harm is done. Monitoring does not necessarily mean confrontation. It involves vigilance, awareness, and documentation of patterns that could indicate attempts to manipulate the child, misrepresent the parent's intentions, or unlawfully access assets. This proactive approach allows the child to maintain control over the situation while ensuring that every action taken by the stepmother is accounted for in case legal intervention becomes necessary. Observation of the stepmother's actions serves both defensive and strategic purposes. On a defensive level, it helps the child recognize attempts at coercion, subtle threats, or other manipulative tactics that might otherwise go unnoticed. These actions can range from casual comments meant to induce guilt, to direct demands for portions of the inheritance, or even the misrepresentation of the deceased parent's intentions. By being attentive, the child can identify these behaviors early and respond with calm, calculated measures, relying on legal guidance and the parent's documented wishes to counteract any inappropriate influence. Strategically, monitoring enables the child to anticipate moves, gather evidence, and strengthen their position should a dispute escalate. Every observation can be translated into actionable insight, helping the child protect both their rights and the integrity of the inheritance. Monitoring also reinforces emotional preparedness. Inheritance disputes are not purely legal, they are deeply intertwined with grief, family dynamics, and emotional manipulation. By staying aware of the stepmother's actions, the child reduces the element of surprise, which can otherwise amplify stress and anxiety. This awareness allows the child to respond with composure, relying on facts and documentation rather than emotions, and to maintain confidence that the parent's protective measures are sufficient. The process transforms vulnerability into vigilance, turning what could feel like a chaotic or threatening environment into one where the child has agency and oversight. Additionally, careful monitoring highlights the importance of combining foresight with action. The parent's planning, the lawyer's guidance, and the child's attention to detail work together to form a comprehensive defense of the inheritance. By observing, recording, and responding to every relevant action, the child ensures that the parent's legacy is preserved exactly as intended. This practice provides both practical protection and psychological reassurance, allowing the child to navigate complex family dynamics while safeguarding the inheritance, honoring the parent's wishes, and maintaining a sense of control and empowerment throughout a challenging process. The satisfaction of seeing the mother's wishes fully honored is a deeply emotional and validating experience for the child, particularly after enduring the tension, uncertainty, and potential manipulation from a stepmother or other family members during the inheritance dispute. This satisfaction goes beyond material gain. It represents the fulfillment of the parent's foresight, planning, and care, affirming that every protective measure she put in place was effective and respected. For the child, seeing the mother's intentions executed precisely as she wanted provides a sense of closure and justice, reinforcing the belief that her love and guidance continue to influence outcomes even after her passing. It is a tangible confirmation that the parent's efforts to safeguard the child's future were successful, and that the values and priorities she embedded in her will or legal documents are being upheld. The emotional impact of this satisfaction is profound. Inheritance disputes can be deeply stressful, mixing grief with fear, uncertainty, and feelings of vulnerability. The presence of manipulation, intimidation, or subtle threats from the stepmother amplifies this emotional strain. When the child witnesses the mother's wishes being honored, however, there is a powerful shift from tension and apprehension to relief and affirmation. the child experiences a sense of validation, not only of their legal rights but also of their moral and emotional connection to the parent. This validation strengthens confidence and emotional resilience, reinforcing the idea that standing firm in alignment with the mother's intentions is both meaningful and rewarding. This satisfaction also serves as a moral victory. It demonstrates that integrity, careful planning, and adherence to ethical and legal principles prevail over greed, manipulation, or attempts to override the parent's intentions. The child gains reassurance that the parent's foresight was not in vain, and that their own efforts to honor the parent's wishes have a direct and positive impact. It provides a sense of empowerment, showing that challenges, threats, or conflicts cannot diminish the significance of the parent's love or the child's right to what was intended for them. Moreover, seeing the mother's wishes honored reinforces the enduring connection between parent and child. Even in her absence, the mother's guidance shapes decisions, protects the child's interests, and ensures that her legacy is preserved in both material and symbolic ways. This outcome provides a lasting sense of justice, pride, and fulfillment, allowing the child to grieve, reflect, and move forward with confidence, knowing that the parent's care and planning continue to have a meaningful and protective presence in their life. The lessons learned from the ordeal of defending the inheritance are multifaceted, offering the child both practical insights and emotional growth that extend far beyond the resolution of the dispute. One of the primary lessons is the importance of foresight and preparation. The mother's deliberate planning, through wills, hidden clauses, trusts, or the involvement of a protective lawyer, demonstrates that anticipating potential challenges is critical in safeguarding one's intentions. The child learns that careful documentation, legal safeguards, and proactive measures can prevent manipulation and ensure that their rights are protected, highlighting the value of planning ahead not only in inheritance matters, but also in other aspects of life where preparation can mitigate risk. Another key lesson is the importance of patience and strategic thinking. Inheritance disputes rarely resolve quickly, and the child often must navigate a combination of legal procedures, emotional manipulation, and conflicting claims. Through this process, they learn that assertiveness alone is insufficient. Success often depends on understanding the rules, anticipating the actions of others, and responding calmly and deliberately. This teaches resilience and the ability to manage both practical and emotional challenges under pressure, skills that are transferable to many future scenarios. The ordeal also provides insight into human behavior, particularly the complexities of relationships and the potential for greed, entitlement, or manipulation. The child observes how others may act when motivated by self-interest and gains an understanding of how subtle threats, intimidation, or emotional pressure can be used to influence outcomes. Recognizing these dynamics allows the child to protect themselves more effectively, respond appropriately, and maintain confidence in the legitimacy of their position. This awareness contributes to both emotional intelligence and personal empowerment, reinforcing the idea that vigilance and discernment are essential when navigating complex social interactions. Additionally, the child learns the enduring value of legal and ethical guidance. The presence of a protective lawyer and the enforcement of the mother's documented wishes provide reassurance that professional oversight, combined with moral clarity, can ensure fairness even in difficult circumstances. The experience reinforces the importance of seeking expertise, understanding one's rights, and relying on structured systems to uphold justice. Ultimately, the lessons extend beyond the immediate context of inheritance, encompassing resilience, critical thinking, emotional fortitude, and strategic action. The child emerges not only with the inheritance secured, but also with a deeper understanding of human behavior, the importance of preparation, and the strength that comes from standing firm in alignment with justice and the parent's intentions, carrying these insights forward into future challenges and relationships. The sense of closure and moving forward after the inheritance dispute is a transformative phase that allows the child to reconcile grief, conflict, and the complexities of family dynamics with a renewed sense of stability and purpose. After enduring the emotional turbulence of losing a parent and navigating disputes over what was legally and morally intended for them, achieving closure provides a vital psychological and emotional resolution. This phase signifies the end of uncertainty and conflict, allowing the child to shift focus from defending their inheritance to embracing the life and opportunities that the parent worked to protect. The ability to move forward stems from the knowledge that the parent's intentions were honored, the child's rights were upheld, and the protective measures designed to safeguard them were effective, offering both reassurance and empowerment. Closure also brings emotional healing. During the dispute, the child may have experienced anxiety, fear, frustration, and even a sense of betrayal, especially when facing manipulation, intimidation, or challenges from a step-parent or other relatives. Successfully navigating these challenges allows the child to process these emotions constructively, transforming stress and vulnerability into resilience and confidence. The satisfaction of seeing justice served reinforces the parent's foresight, validates the child's actions, and provides a sense of moral and emotional affirmation. With these emotional foundations solidified, the child can begin to release lingering tension, resentment, or uncertainty, creating mental space to grieve fully, reflect on the parent's legacy, and focus on personal growth and future endeavors. Moving forward also involves redefining family dynamics. While the dispute may have strained relationships or revealed underlying tensions, closure allows the child to establish boundaries, clarify expectations, and approach interactions with a clearer understanding of roles and responsibilities. This newfound clarity helps reduce ongoing conflict and provides the child with the confidence to navigate family relationships more effectively, whether through reconciliation, cautious engagement, or maintaining distance where necessary. It also reinforces lessons about vigilance, discernment, and self-advocacy, which become valuable guides in future relationships and challenges. Finally, the process of closure emphasizes the enduring impact of the parent's love, planning, and guidance. Even after death, the parent's intentions shape outcomes, protect the child's future, and offer emotional security. With closure, the child is empowered to embrace life with confidence, carry forward the parent's legacy, and make decisions grounded in the security, foresight, and wisdom imparted through the inheritance process, transforming past challenges into lasting growth, empowerment, and a sense of peace. In conclusion, this journey through the challenges of defending an inheritance highlights not just the legal battles or financial stakes, but the profound emotional resilience, foresight, and moral strength that emerge when a parent's wishes are honored. From the initial shock of loss and the uncertainty of manipulation to the careful navigation of legal safeguards and the empowerment that comes from asserting one's rights, the experience demonstrates the enduring power of preparation, love, and justice. Each step, from recognizing threats, documenting interactions, and relying on protective measures, to ultimately witnessing the parent's intentions fulfilled, reinforces the values of patience, strategic thinking, and emotional strength. Beyond securing what is rightfully theirs, the child emerges with lessons that extend into life, understanding human behavior, setting boundaries, exercising resilience, and appreciating the foresight and care of those who love us most. The process transforms grief and challenge into empowerment, closure, and the ability to move forward with confidence, carrying both the parent's legacy and personal growth into the future. Good luck to everyone facing similar challenges in life, or in protecting what is important to you. Remember, with patience, preparation, and perseverance, justice and fairness can prevail. Thank you all for taking the time to listen and for sharing in this story of resilience, foresight, and the enduring power of honoring those we love.